Welcome back to another episode of Finding Love. And we're going to switch it up a little bit today. It's often that a lot of our community, a lot of our Finding Love family send us things on social media, in our emails, and they want our feedback.
Yeah.
But we thought, what better way to do it than to share it with you today and have some real-time commentary. So after this, let's dive into it. Here is the first video from tonight's conversation. So let's just dive into it and let's follow up.
Sometimes men disappear because they feel like their effort is not being reciprocated.
Talk about it.
So hear me out. A lot of women feel like their approach to dating is, you as a man have to prove to me you are worthy of my time, my energy, and me being more vulnerable to you. And because of what you've been through, you think that's the right way to do it. But unfortunately, when you're dealing with a man who's actually serious and he's seeing you're holding back, you got walls up, he has concerns that you're wasting his time. So now he falls off because he's like, all right, she's tripping, she's not really making any effort. But because there's still a desire there, because he still likes her, I think the comment, the like, is a temperature check. Let me see how she'll respond. Let me see if I can still reignite something here. But it all stemmed from, are we actually making a mutual effort to get to know each other?
Okay.
So just make sure, before you start throwing all kinds of accusations at the man, ask yourself, was I coming correct in this process or not?
Cook up, sir.
That's good.
Yeah.
So we got introduced to him. He's a therapist through Jay Shetty's podcast. And then we are also fans of Tonight's Conversation podcast, right? So we consuming the information too, right?
We staying up to date.
We checking the temperature on what's going on and what's being talked about in the relationship world. And this was so good on so many levels because he kind of checked us, women. Because I know for a fact that we can almost naturally come from a space of either too vulnerable or too hard, you know, and in the moments of protecting ourselves, it is because we need to know that you're serious, right? I think that this speaks to why conversation and communication is so important.
And being able to hear a brother like that articulate our feelings, that's when it really hits home. Because it's often we do feel certain ways while we're dating or going through motions, but we don't always know why we're feeling that or even how to articulate it. So for him to be able to break down our psyche and really what we're feeling and articulate it, that's how it really connects here, right? And not only for him speaking to the women, but it's also a reality check for us where it's like, yes, that is how it is, right?
See, and I believe that there is no confusion or lack of clarity when both parties are being intentional about this being a relationship for the future. However, I believe that it is up to us women to lead that conversation. Because just like he said, wow, I don't even know if you articulated that's how you were feeling to me, but because I'm like, hold up, what we doing? I'm gonna ask the question. And I talked about our intentions with each other, and I talked about what a future looked like, and made sure that we were on the same common ground as far as what an outlook on future looks like, even if it wasn't together. Because that's the first step. Like if I say, you know, I don't know if I want no kids, or I don't even know about this marriage thing. I just forgot about that because I'm getting older and I don't care about all of that. And he wants to get married and have kids. That might be the disconnect right there. Instead of being like open and honest about how you foresee your future being and how maybe you've lost track of that, get married, have a family type of lifestyle because you're getting older and you just want companionship. Maybe that's something that is so disconnected and disjointed in the very beginning that you don't even get to that point of clarity of where you are together. But if you don't get there, who's at fault?
Yeah, and I'm gonna pick that up right where you're speaking on, because we have to understand the process of dating and how we feel about it. And there's two different ways. There is a woman's way, and then there's a man's way.
Yeah.
And please correct me if I'm wrong, is that when the lady is dating, a lot of the time you guys are looking for something serious. You guys are ultimately talking about marriage. You guys have fantasized about marriage from a very early age.
Yeah.
For men, marriage is not something that we fantasize about. Marriage is not something that we barbershop talk about, right? We don't do that when we are watching the game. Coming up, did we say, yes, we want to have a family?
Yeah.
These are the things we talk about. So understanding that, right? And understanding what he discussed, let's go into the process of a man. A lot of the time when we're dating, we are dating from a place of practice.
Yeah.
It is very surface level. She looks good. She smells good. I want to hang out with her.
Yeah.
And I want to see what's up.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But when we get into a place where a man begins to be serious about pursuing the potential of being a family man and finding a wife, he's also still coming from a place of that practice. So this is a very new space for him. So if he comes into an opportunity to meet a woman, and this woman is standoffish, or she's trying to make him earn it, versus having some authentic conversations, then guess what? He can go back to his original nature, or he could get tossed. He can be thrown off so easy and fast.
So true.
So I'm just continuing on your conversation and from what the brother said on tonight's conversation, because if you don't provide a space where we can have trusting conversation and a conversation where we can grow from, then guess what? We can revert to our own ways and we'll still comment. Like I said, we'll still like and try to see what's up.
Yeah.
But that approach, as far as we're trying to get in a space, in a head space, and an emotional space, and a spiritual space to find a wife, that's also a very fragile space for us.
That's good. That's good. And it got me thinking about the ways that women try to test you guys, or we try to give you guys some tests. Like, maybe you asked a guy for some money on a bill or something, right? And if he didn't give it to you, like, he ain't no provider.
Yeah.
Well, actually, maybe you asked for money too soon. Maybe there's something disconnected where he don't think that you've given enough of yourself for him to pay for any bills. Maybe he ain't never even been to your house. Well, I got to pay your bills, But that's something that we sometimes put this play in place as a test. And you will fail it because we haven't been vulnerable enough, or we haven't opened up enough, or we haven't given enough. Or, for instance, say a family holiday is coming up, and the woman who's been dating, maybe we've been dating for 6 months or so, we just automatically think that you're going to invite us to your family, or that you're going to see our family.
Yeah.
If you don't have that conversation and you haven't, allowed yourself to be vulnerable enough to at least say, the most important people to me in my life are my family.
That's right.
And me introducing you to my family means that we have a future together. That it means that I am inviting you into my world, right? Yeah. If you don't do that, how is he supposed to know?
That's right.
And I think that confusion only exists when you start to put expectations on someone without communicating effectively what you want.
Yep.
So I'm going to expect you, to want to pay my bills when I haven't communicated that in my future life, I would like my husband to be the provider. I want to do everything else.
That's right.
I want to be the wife and the mother and the everything else. You know, that's something that needs to be talked about early on.
And once you talk about it and there's an understanding and a mutual understanding and mutual respect that we both want something serious.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We should have the access checkpoints and boundaries set up initially so that we can build a foundation and grow into something that is sturdy. Or we can at least know if we have potential together.
Yeah.
Okay? But if you go back and you look at a woman who is playing, right? Mm-hmm. I'm just speaking to the video, right?
Right.
You're looking at a woman who's playing. You're looking at a woman who is trying to stand at the top of the castle and say, hey, you have to come rescue me. That is going to be a turnoff to a man who is trying to be a better man than he used to be.
Yeah.
He is trying not to go back to his old ways.
Yeah.
He is saying, you know what? I'm tired of this.
Yeah.
I want to build with the woman.
Yeah.
And so if you can be authentic as a woman and we can feel something that is organic and we are already ready, but that ready for us is extremely fragile.
Yeah.
So that woman being that trusting, creating a trusting space for us, a safe space for us, man, we're ready to grow.
Yeah.
But if she wants to go stand up in that castle and she wants to say, oh no, you got to come earn me and have that demeanor, then we're good anyway.
Yeah. And I think that there are ways to do that without saying it.
Right.
Because I also don't believe that you should walk into a relationship with women and be your most vulnerable self.
Yeah.
I think that vulnerabilities are earned with trust.
That's right.
You know, the more I can trust you, the more I can be vulnerable with you. But lack of vulnerabilities does not have to be a barrier or a block or a hardened nature.
That's right.
It can still be, okay, I might not tell you my deepest, darkest secrets or my most, biggest insecurities right off the bat, right?
Yeah.
But I am open to communicating with you. I am, inviting you into my world. I am telling you maybe some things that I've learned in past relationships that were great lessons that I will take to my next.
Yeah.
Right? I think that there is still a certain level of earning, but it's in line with trust and growth of a relationship organically.
That's right.
So it's not like, he got to do this, and that, going back to what I always think that we need to get rid of, that performance mindset that it has to be a dollar value, or he got to rescue you from, the world 2 or 3 times before you could give him all of you. I think that it happens organically over time as trust builds and as you get to know each other.
Yeah. And I think even just for me, summing up the video, there's both the man and the woman have to be ready. The man has to be ready to win and earn his wife, but she has to be in a stance and perspective of ready to receive a husband.
Yes.
And that can be felt, I think, collectively by both the man and the woman, but they both have to be in that space.
Yeah.
And then that's where the growth can happen.
I also think that once you realize in a relationship that you're giving some of yourself to them and you feel like they are reciprocating, that is when you can say, okay, we're both in this thing, right? Yeah. And that can happen with just time management.
That's right.
If I am saying, hey, my girls want to go out, it's my only day off from work, but if you want to do something, we could do it from this time to this time, or I could come see you after. I'm inviting you into, when I have an off day, these are my priorities.
That's right.
My friends and you.
That's right.
Or my family in you, you know, so those type of little small invitations, I think, can allow the person to see that you're trying to make this thing work and you're trying to prioritize the other person into your world. And I think that is a slight vulnerability that doesn't leave you out here just open.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I hate that it has to be some extreme, you know, completely open and honest and vulnerable, or shut down hearted to men ain't never go get it together, all men dogs type of attitude. Where's the middle ground, ladies? We got to have that middle ground, and we have to make sure that clarity and confusion is not coming from either party.
That's right. And I think the way you said is that we get to that place.
Yes.
And you get to a place of prioritizing each other. And you also said collectively making decisions together.
Yes.
So we grow into that space, and then we're making room to be on the same team and operating together.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what we all want, I think, is somebody that's on your team and rolling with you and rocking with you, where you guys can prioritize each other and make those decisions collectively together.
And it's very important to understand that biblically, the man chooses the wife, right? So we have to make sure that we are putting him in a space where he can make that choice.
Right.
And so that means that sometimes we have to take us out of it, right?
That's right.
You know, you got to do more than take me on a couple dates for some goodies, right?
Yeah.
You got to do more than, you know, text me every day for me to open up.
Yeah.
However, we have to do more if we want this man to make a life decision for us as a collective.
Yeah.
We got to do more to see him as a leader so that we can understand that he's about to be the head of our household. And we have to do more to make sure that he feels comfortable in a space of being vulnerable with us. So that means early on, you might have to let your roster down, ladies. Like, you can't be texting 12 guys or talking about, ooh, I was going on a date with Johnny, but I guess I can squeeze you in. It has to be, you're showing him that in the process of dating you, I only want to get to know you.
That's right.
You know, or in the process of us figuring out what we're doing together, I want to make sure we are both equally sure and clear on what our intentions are. And that's where it shifts. In the beginning, the woman has to lead this thing, but you have to lead it in a way that the guy knows he could take over.
That's right.
You know, I don't know. I think that he was speaking a lot to women and putting a lot of responsibility on us that we don't want. or even want to hear, right? I want to hear that. Oh, whatever. But it is so true.
Yeah.
So valuable.
And let's not get it confused. The leadership that you're showing is the leadership of your presentation of showing that you're a wife.
Yes.
And that is the leadership.
Yes.
Because once...
Not control.
No, right. Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So just bring clarity what I know you already meant.
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
that's good. That's good. And it also got me thinking about the second video. So this other video that someone sent to us really spoke volumes. And the person that sent to us, I don't know if they were thinking that they wanted us to comment on it, or if they were sending it to us for, you know, like, look, this is what therapists are saying. I don't know, but I appreciated the video a lot. I think we should dive right into it because it really speaks to this mutual understanding once again.
Let's pull it up.
My therapist asked me, she said, Mike, what do you look for in a wife? She said, I want to give you this assignment, go write everything down that you look for in a wife. I said, all right, cool. And this was easy for me. I knocked this out. And then she said, also, I want you to do in that same day is write down everything that you think you need to work on as a man to become a husband. I'm going to be honest, bro. I have about maybe 3 to 5 things that I think I need to work on as a husband. But what I need in a wife, I had about 30. I had to flip it on the backside of the page. And she never got to my list on what I need to work on. But all she said about my list on what I need for a wife is to become that. I said, hold it, but look, I got all this stuff here. She said, Mike, I don't need to read it. All I'm asking you to is to become that. Because it's a travesty for you to desire something from someone that you're not willing to give. So instead of us focusing on finding the right mate, let us become the right mate.
That's exactly why I wanted to pull that up. Like, it just falls in line with this, right? Like, we're so focused on what you gonna give me and what I'm gonna give you and when I'm gonna give it to you and you got to earn this and da 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 da, that we don't focus on who we have to become.
That's right.
In order to be a husband, in order to be a wife.
And I thought it was so strategic how the therapist even did it.
Yeah.
Because you say, you know what? Okay, let's look at everything that you wrote down, or all the 30 things, right?
Yeah.
And guess what? You also become that. Because, like you said, it's so often that we're asking for everybody to do everything else.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But you have to be able to be everything that you want. You need to be willing to offer.
Yeah. I mean, it really just, going back to elementary school, I feel like I was writing pros and cons list, you know? And the pros, you either are trying to stretch them because you want to make it work with this person, or you're trying to limit them because you're trying to get rid of this person. So talking about it, and not in respective of this actual person, but in the perspective of a wife and a husband, you know, you as a wife or you as a husband versus who you want, I think it's like mind-blowing to strategically show you the types of things that you need to be focused on. Yeah. Because, you know, I might say I need to watch my mouth a little bit more, you know, my attitude, right? And then I'm done, baby. Because I do a lot, right? But when I say write down a list, think of all the things you want in someone to love you and to be your life partner. If I'm not all of those things, how dare I?
And I think that goes to just how we're ingrained in the dating game. Yeah. It's so often on the first date, what is the question? What are you looking for? Yeah. But nobody asks the question, what are you willing to offer? And that's what this is, right? Yeah. We always can rattle down what we're looking for. Yeah. But what are you willing to offer to the relationship, right? Just as much as you're willing to offer your stance on what you want, you need to be willing to offer the stance on what you're willing to give.
Yeah. I would be interested to see what was on that list, right?
Yeah.
And listen, I challenge all of you to write down the list of things that you want in a partner.
That's right.
In a life partner.
That's right.
And how many of those things are you not willing to do?
That's right.
Right? Or how many of those things it would be very hard for you to do?
That's right.
Right? And of course, this is going to be, you know, it's going to be some things that aren't all the way reciprocal or interchangeable, right? Yeah. But for the most part, when you say, I want somebody who communicates effectively, I want somebody who's kind, I want somebody who has his stuff together, he's got his career and his credit good, you know, ma'am, what that credit looking like? Yeah. You know, especially even if you want to be a housewife. You can't be the housewife that's bringing us down. I can't put you on the mortgage, right? That's right. You can't be the housewife that, shoot, I got to get all the cars in my name because, baby, you know, you have to bring some value to the table, even if it's not financially in the pockets, right? So it's like, what areas are you concerned with that you have not allowed yourself to really focus on?
And that's important because we do understand that everybody has a level of customized loving. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. But to be able to have a baseline of say, okay, everything you say you want, are you willing to give? Yeah. Because that person right there, you can build with. Yeah. Understanding that, you know, you might need something that I don't need. Yeah. But if we can start at the baseline of, okay, everything that I want, I'm willing to give you. If we can start there, then I can grow with that person. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. And I can trust that person is willing to look into me and see what I need exclusively and need specific to me. Yeah. I can trust that person to find that.
I also think that speaks to the very beginning of relationships. If you're in that relationship and you're like, you know what, I got to get out of this because it's too much confusion, it's too much lack of clarity. have you provided clarity? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're looking at reasons to get out of that relationship, make sure that you aren't the problem. Make sure that that lack of clarity and confusion, it's not coming from your end.
Right.
So if you are saying, I can't be with you, or I don't want to build or go further in this relationship because it's just too much confusion, and you have, really laid out how to love you, what to do, what you want, and all of that good stuff, then okay, you can have your stance. But if you're saying, it's just too much confusion, I don't know what he on, or I don't know what he's, really thinking about this relationship, and you haven't given him that clarity, I think that that's something that needs to be a part of your process, because maybe, just maybe, you the problem.
Yeah, and I think that also allows us to help shift the question of, I want a wife, right? From a man's perspective, I want a wife versus I'm ready for a wife, right? You that's a very different question to ask, right? Or let somebody know that I am ready for a wife. I am ready to give a wife a husband, right? And shifting the dynamics of the way we say it also can make things very selfless versus I'm trying to get married. I'm trying to have kids. I'm trying to have a family.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that you know everything that you can do to prepare for that, because you got to prepare to be a part of a family. You gotta as best you can, because once you get in it, there is going to be a lot of unknown. Right?
Yeah. I think that this also speaks to who you are and who you need to be before you even go into this dating world. And sometimes we keep getting into relationships unhealed from the last one, right? Or we haven't really addressed the trauma that makes us so hardened on the opposite sex, right?
Yeah.
Or your partner, right? So it's like honing in on who you are, loving you.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. Knowing what you bring to the table in not performance measures, knowing that your character and your love and your nurturing nature are all going to be benefits to this partner. You also have to make sure that they are in line with your access points and boundaries.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you know that you are such a giving person, or that you are very flexible in your schedule and you're going to be able to move around and shift around his schedule, those are valuable pieces of you, right? But do you give it all in the beginning? And who has access to all of that goodness needs to be limited.
Yep.
Right? And so if there's confusion on the other end, you want to make sure that that confusion is not with someone that you see a future with, that you're dating intentionally for something more than just getting to know them on the surface.
No, 100%. And another piece to that is a lot of time we make decisions on what we believe we need based on previous relationships, right? And the problem there is that you're allowing the past relationship to define you and to define who you are and what you want and what you need, versus trying to grow in your self-awareness and being able to not allow that past to define you and dictate your future. You have to know and learn yourself and have self-awareness so that you can say, okay, this is what I need, no matter what happened in the past. And guess what? Not only do I need it, I'm willing to give it.
Yeah. And don't bring the past trauma, past red flags, past toxicity of the last relationship. Bring the lessons in the new you. Who did you become out of that relationship? Because every relationship tells you something about that person.
Yeah.
But it very much so tells you about yourself. Like, why did you even allow that person in your space?
Yeah.
Access.
Yeah.
Why did you allow the relationship to go as long as it did?
Yeah. And you got to be willing to look at there too. Are you willing to look at yourself like that?
Look into, maybe that person cheated, dogged you, all of that good stuff. But what made you allow that, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's easy to get out of stuff, you know. One of the things that made me just sick to my core was the number of people that asked, well, why didn't Cassie leave? Baby, we saw her try.
Right.
You know?
You saw it. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think it's easy to leave, but understanding what red flags did you miss in that relationship, or what things about yourself allowed you to let that relationship last as long as it did, is a life lesson that makes you better for the next relationship. It should not bring you down or make you harden or make you project onto your new partner. It should be a lesson that develops your character and who you are and your self-love just a little bit more every learned lesson.
And also what I saw there was reflection in that video. And I think reflection is so key to do. It can be therapeutic, whether you're doing it with a therapist or you're just doing it by yourself, because how can you grow? How can you try to have a more prosperous future if you don't reflect on your past? And so what we saw there in that video was a reflection on his past and trying to understand what he needs, and then doubling down and saying, okay, now that you say this is what you need, are you willing to offer it?
Yeah, no, that's good. She was pushing and pulling him in different directions, baby. Like, I would be like, okay, I need a therapist because you're too hard on me. So it's good to be stretched, right? Because everything is a learned lesson. And if you're too comfortable, I think in any area of life, you're probably stagnant and you're not growing. And together with your partner, you want to grow and flourish and be beneficial to one another. So I think that two main things came out of these two videos and really pushed this conversation. One being that you have to address you. You have to look at yourself and what you bring and what lessons you need to be learning and how you are articulating your value and what you want to that other person. And two, you also need to make sure that if there's any confusion or lack of clarity in that relationship, that you got to make sure it's not you. You got to make sure that you're giving off what you want to get.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think that it's so much value and you guys sending us videos and you sharing these perspectives, because it stretches us to make sure that we are providing more value to you all, right? It stretches our mind and how we've had to go through the process of dating and marriage and all of that stuff, right? We at that past that 7 year where they say it's the itch. And I'm like, the itch is in the first year, I thought. but in that perspective and growing together and flourishing year over year with each other, it's been something that these videos spoke a lot to.
Yeah, and just summing it up to me is, look, the way you don't block your blessings is making sure that you reflect and you work on yourself so that you're prepared for your future.
Yeah. Boom. In a nutshell. That was good.
Yeah.
So keep them coming. This was good.
Send us more.
This was good. And what I loved, I just got to add this. This was two black men.
Yeah.
These are two black men speaking on emotional maturity, which is something that got to be probably for another episode.
That's tough for us.
You know, that's tough. One being a therapist and one talking about going to his therapist. What? Next episode, I don't know, but that was good. I think that perspective really just hones in on where we need to grow as a community in order to be able to uplift each other and successfully be married for the long haul.
Let's toast on that.
Let's toast.
Ooh. Right.
So I think that we have to toast to self-awareness, self-reflection, and self-love. Because in dating, it is not about the other person as much as it is about who you are. So are you becoming and are you the type of person that you want to be with? It's very important. Continue to work on you, love on you, and watch God make blessings happen. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you so much for tuning in. It has been a journey of love, of understanding, of vulnerability, and we are just so appreciative that you have joined us for another episode of Finding Love.
And we want to invite you into our Finding Love community. And one of the best ways to do that is clicking that subscribe button right down there.
If you want to tune in with us more, kick it with us more, learn more about Finding Love, we definitely want you to follow us on all social media at I Am Finding Love. And I am Jenni L. Hendricks on all social media platforms. Jenni with an I, L. Hendricks with an IX.
Hey, there you go, baby. And mine is Stephen Hendricks, #1. And also, for anybody's listening to us on one of these amazing podcast platforms, please rate, review, comment. We really appreciate you.
We gonna